Hello and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I hope you're all doing very, very well. Book haul time, July book haul time. I've got 14 books, that's just some of them, here to show you. Some that, well, a lot that have been sent to me from the publisher. Some that I've bought, one that I borrowed from my mother. I think we'll just kick straight off. I think we'll start with the, yeah, we will start with the publisher's books because there's a Christmas one in there. Right, the first one we've got is Claudia Pinheiro, Elena Knows. This is translated by Frances Riddle and was shortlisted for the 2022 International Booker Prize. This is the same person who wrote... Oh, I didn't buy this, sorry, this wasn't sent to me. This wasn't sent to me by the publisher, this was sent to me from my wish list, so appreciations. So, it says, when Rita's body is found hanging in the belfry of the church she devoted herself to, the investigation is swiftly closed, but her mother, Eleanor, refuses to accept the police's version of what happened, and despite the physical limitations imposed by her illness, embarks on a journey to call in an old debt. Unfolding over one single day, Eleanor's arduous trek across Buenos Aires forces her to redefine everything she thought she knew about her relationship with her daughter while confronting her with the ramifications of a fleeting encounter 20 years ago. Written in an engrossing style that recalls John Cheever and Thomas Bernhard, this is a moving novel about hypocrisy that asks us if we can still change our views late in life and find a will to go on despite our failing bodies. Sounds great, doesn't it? So yeah, very excited to get to that. Then I've been sent the new book by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is Family Law. I've read a few books by Elizabeth Acevedo. Acevedo. This is out on the 10th of August this year. The ones I have read have been written in verse. So this is not written in verse. So this will be different from my previous books of hers that I've read. Let me see if they've got a list of the books that she's... No, it's not. So, oh, here we go. The Poet X, Clap When You Land, and With the Fire on High. So there we go. So here it says here, the Marcher women are preparing for a gathering that will change their lives forever. Flor has a gift. She can predict to the day when someone will die. So when she decides to host her own living wake, bringing together her family and community to celebrate her long life, her sisters Mathilde, Pastora and Camilla are concerned. What has she foreseen? But Flor isn't the only one with a secret. Mathilde has tried to hide the extent of her husband's infidelity for years and now must confront the true state of her marriage. Pastora, always on a mission to solve her sister's problems, needs to come to terms with her past. And Camilla, the youngest sibling, has decided that she no longer wants to be taken for granted. Alongside their struggles, the next generation of martyr women face their own tumult of family obligations, infertility and heartache. Spanning the 3 days prior to the wake, Family Law traces the intertwining stories of these sisters and cousins, mothers and daughters, aunts and nieces to ask the ultimate question: what does it take to live a good life for yourself and those who you love? Sounds great. I love this front cover as well. This is a proof copy, but I hope the front cover looks similar to this. Oh, I wonder if I can see what the proof... Oh yeah, I think it is going to look like that. Yeah, very, very good. So looking forward to reading this. If I enjoy this half as much as I've enjoyed her previous work, I'm going to be really into it. Then the aforementioned Christmas book. I'm so excited when the Christmas books start rolling in. Every year I think, am I going to have enough Christmas reading? But there's always new little bits that are coming in, so, and particularly new romance stuff. So this is a romance book by B.K. Borison, Lovelight Farms. Here's two people smooching beneath some mistletoe. I was so excited when this arrived. I showed it to my mum. It arrived on the day of my dad's birthday and they were coming around here for dinner in the evening. I showed my mum. My mum was like, there's no way you'd like this. And it's true. I don't really read romance any other time of the year other than Christmas, but I just like to immerse myself in it. So it says here, a handsome freckled data analyst. Hello. A messy optimistic Christmas tree farm owner. A small town with the best hazelnut lattes on the East Coast. In an effort to save the Christmas tree farm she's loved since she was a child, Stella enters a contest with Insta-famous influencer Evelyn St. James. With the added publicity and the huge cash prize, she must be able to save the farm from its financial woes. There's just one problem. To make the farm seem like a romantic destination for the holidays, she lied on the application and said that she owns Lovelight Farms with her boyfriend, only there is no boyfriend. Enter best friends Luca Peters. He just came home for some hot chocolate and somehow got a farm and a serious relationship in the process. Will their fake love affair save Lovelight Farms in time for Christmas? Christmas! So yeah, there we go. That's going on the Christmas TBR, first one. And then, so that was from Pam Macmillan, and then I've got a few more. So I've got Trust by Hernan Diaz. This is now out in paperback. I've had this book out from the library so many times in hardback and never got round to it, and it's time for me to read it. The paperback is absolutely gorgeous. It's got this gold sort of bit here. The font is in gold. It's gorgeous. So it says here, a Wall Street tycoon and his young wife rise to the top of New York society in an age of excess and speculation. But now a novelist is threatening to reveal the secrets behind their marriage, and this wealthy man's story of greed, love and betrayal is about to slip from his grasp. Composed of 4 competing versions of this deliciously deceptive tale, which sounds really like immersive, Trust brings us a quest for truth while confronting the lies that often live buried in the human heart. Excited about that. Then I've got Briefly a Delicious Life by Nell Stevens, also out in paperback, so excited about that. Blanca has been dead for centuries when she falls in love with a celebrated novelist, George Sand. George is unlike anyone Blanca has encountered in hundreds of years of haunting, a woman dressed in men's clothes, a ferocious writer and passionate lover of men and women alike. It is 1838 and George has come to the island of Mallorca with her ailing lover, Frederick Chopin. You know him. As the weather and the locals turn against this strange couple, can the love of a teenage ghost keep them from disaster? I think I might read that in October because ghost equals Halloween. Sounds great. I love this front cover as well. Then I've got Everything's Fine by Cecilia Rabes. I was going to say, this sounded very Nick Hornby, and as I picked it up, when I read the blurb, I thought that sounds, I think I watched the book break video, and I thought that sounds very Nick Hornby. It's got a quote from Nick Hornby on the back. So, when Jess first meets Josh at the Ivy League college, she dislikes him immediately. Love a college novel. An entitled guy in chinos ready to take over the world. Meanwhile, Jess is almost always the only black woman in their class, and Josh can't accept that life might be easier for him because he's white. After graduating, Jess and Josh, that's a mouthful, end up working together in the same investment bank. As they lunch, spar and pick each other brains, Jess begins to see Josh in a different light. Soon their tempestuous friendship turns into electrifying romance that shocks them both, and Jess finds herself questioning who she really is and whether she's willing to compromise that for love. Everything's Fine is an utterly original and deeply moving take on an age-old question from a dazzling new voice. What have you got to lose when you fall in love? And look at these end papers, these pictures of Jess and Josh. I love that. When you don't often see it unless it's been made into a film or a TV series, that actual people are the part of, like, they take actual photos and put them on a book. Unless this has been made into a TV series. I don't think so. This is also Cecilia Rabes's debut. There we go. Exciting. And then last 3 things from the publishers are these 3 aesthetically pleasing guys from a publisher called Prototype. So we've got Laurie and Joe by Amy Arnold, we've got Pleasure Beach by Helen Palmer, and we've got Vehicle by Jen Kalasia. So they are here. So this one is set in the Lake District where Laurie and Joe have lived for many years. I love that green so much. That is the green I wanted my hallway, and I've gone for sort of snooker table green. In a quiet valley where one day is much like another, bringing Joe his regular cup of coffee one morning, Laurie finds him dead. She could call an ambulance, but what difference would it make? Instead, she heads out for a walk over the fells. As she makes her way through the November fog, oh, this would be perfect to read in November. Love reading books set when they're set. Laurie's thoughts slip between past and present, revealing a marriage marked by isolation, childlessness, and a terrible secret she's never disclosed. Taking place over the course of a single day, I love that too, yet recounting a discordant relationship of many decades, Laurie and Joe is an intimate and compelling story of entrapment and loneliness, and of a life in which desire is continually overcome by inertia. Nothing changed and nothing is ever solved, but with the word resolved written in brackets. Yeah, I think I am going to read that in November. Love reading a book when it's set. This sounds amazing. The only thing better would be if I was in the Lake District in November. Can I make that happen? I mean, imagine if I did just based on getting one book from a publisher, but it would be nice. I have been to the Lake District once. It was very, very nice. Then we've got Pleasure Beach by Helen Palmer. This is a queer love story set in... Oh, again, set over the course of one day. Blackpool on the 16th of June, 1999. Should have read that on the 16th of June. Written in multiple voices and styles, it follows the interconnecting journeys and thoughts of 3 young women over the course of 24 hours and over 18 chapters, which are structured and themed in the same way as James Joyce's Ulysses. Never read that before. Oh, look, it looks very... Oh, it's very sort of like lots of different things. So we've got here this big page, and then there's some stuff about... Yeah, like different, it looks very, very different. Lots of different ways, like signs, and then like lists of stuff, fragments, miscellaneous, there we go. Hedonist and wannabe playwright Olga Adesi, 19, is struggling along the prom to get to her morning shift at the Chippy with a monstrous hangover, trying to remember exactly what happened with Rachel Watkins, 19, a strange and fragile girl she had an encounter with the night before. Former gymnast and teenage mum Teresa Reynolds is off to the Sandcastle water park with her mum Lou and daughter Lulu, looking forward to sausage and egg McMuffin on the way. Pleasure Beats breathes and excels the unique sea air, fish and chips, donuts and candy floss scents of Blackpool, bringing to life everything the town is famous for, portraying the gritty magic and sheer unadulterated fun of the place and its people across a spectrum of sensory experiences and emotions. That'd be another one nice to read in Blackpool. Been to Blackpool as well. Went to Blackpool with my sister. She used to be a ballroom dancer and she used to compete there every year and we used to go along. Once I was asleep in the room that we were staying in Blackpool and the housekeeper came in and made the bed whilst I was in it. That's what I remember. And then the last one from Prototype is Vehicle by Jen Kaluuya. This says, I don't think this one is set over the course of a day, which is unusual because the other two are. In a time when looking into the past has become socially unacceptable and an illegal act in the nation, a group of scholars are offered the attractive residency to allow them to pursue their projects. When the residency transpires to be a devastating trick, these researchers go on the run and soon discover that their projects all relate to one major event, the Isle of Tees disaster, the decline and subsequent devastation 50 years earlier of a long-forgotten Roman archipelago, love the word archipelago, the Islets. One figure emerges as central to all of their work, Hester Heller, a reformed cult musiker turned student recruited from the institution for transmission as an agent of the state and tasked with gathering reconnaissance on the disaster by using her old band vehicle as a cover. Heller is the key to the researchers' collective story, which they try to piece together while evading their pursuers. Compiled from the researchers' disparate documentation, recollections, and even their imaginations, Vehicle is a timely and daring exploration of xenophobia, exploitation, the writing of histories and legacies, and the politics of translation. Well, these bloody sound great, don't they? I mean, this one I'm going to read in November. This one I'm going to read next June. I've missed the boat with that. This one I'll read soon, but yeah. Great looking little guys and sounds like they're great in there. So those are the ones from the publisher and from my wish list. Then, as I said, I've got one that I've borrowed from my mum. I've borrowed the original Call the Midwife book by Jennifer Worth from my mum because next year I'm going to do a reading project similar to that I've done with the 6 Tudor Queens books, where I'm going to read and immerse myself in Call the Midwife. Call the Midwife is a book which has since been made into a TV show which has been running for 10 series on the BBC. Dave and I got into watching it during lockdown and it became a very good friend to us in lockdown because there was so much of it to watch and we loved it, and I have continued to love it. Now we're out of lockdown and watching it all the time and become very invested in some of the characters in it, and I would love to read the original canon that it was taken from. Jennifer is a character that is in the TV series. She appears in the first 2 series, Jenny Lee, and this book is about her, and then they've taken stories, inspiration from the stories that she's written and inspiration from the stories that have been collated over the years and women's health and a good social history of what's happened in women's health as the years have gone by, and made the programme. I think the programme is a masterpiece. I absolutely love it. Not only is it sort of like super comforting TV, it's also, like I said, an amazing social record of all of the changes in women's healthcare and healthcare in general since the 50s. But yeah, looking forward to reading this. I borrowed it from my mum. There's a whole series of them, I believe. So this is the first one, and then I think there's like a few more about some of the other people that appear in the book. Well, I'll have to look into those more, but I've got the first one, borrowed it from my mum. Then I've got 2 that I bought from the desk at school, at work. Now, I bought this with plans to read it next month. So this is The Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz, and next month I am reading all Agatha Christie books and dubbing the month Augusta Christie. So I'll be reading Agatha Christie books or books that are inspired by Agatha Christie, mystery books, books about Agatha Christie, etc, etc. And my colleague was reading this and said she borrowed a copy from her mum and dad, and I had literally just walked past the volunteers desk and seen that this was there, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy that, and I think I'll probably add it to my TBR from next month because I think this sounds a little inspired by Agatha Christie. So it's about a crime writer who is Agatha Christie. Alan Conway same initials, has been best-selling author for years. Readers love his detective Atticus Punt, a celebrated solver of crimes in the sleepy English villages of the 1950s. But Conway's latest tale of murder at Pie Hole is not quite what it seems. Yes, there are dead bodies and a host of intriguing suspects, but hidden in the pages of the manuscript lies another story, a tale written between the very words on the page, telling of real-life jealousy, greed, ruthless ambition and murder. So, as you can see in the book, some of it is written in this sort of typewriter font and some of it is written in the more font that you would expect. So you read the book and then you read the story around the book. Sounds like it's gonna be quite interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, when you buy books from the charity desk, they are 50p, or £1 or 2 for £1. So they're either £1 each or 2 for £1. So I also picked up City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert, which again is another book that I've got out from the library many times and never got round to reading it. I have read Eat, Pray, Love, and that's non-fiction, didn't love it. This is fiction, I believe. New York 1940s, young, glamorous and inseparable Vivian and Celia are chasing trouble from one end of the city to the other, but there is a risk in all this play. That's what makes it so fun and so dangerous. Sometimes the world may feel like it's ending, but for Vivian and Celia, life is just beginning. City of Girls is about daring to break conventions and follow your desires, a celebration of glamour, resilience, growing up and the joys of female friendship, I love that, and about the freedom that comes from finding a place you truly belong. So there we go. And then I've got, as I said, Agatha Christie month next month. I've got Crooked House by Agatha Christie. This is the book that we're reading for Patreon Book Club. We picked an Agatha Christie book to read and the vote was between And Then There Were None and Crooked House, and Crooked House won. And I'm excited about this because, I mean, look how many books Agatha Christie's written. Loads. But there's a little foreword in here from Agatha who says, this book is one of my own special favourites. I saved it up for years thinking about it, working it out, saying to myself, one day when I've plenty of time and want to really enjoy myself, I'll begin it. And I should say that of one's output, 5 books are worth a work to one that is real pleasure. I should say that of one's output, 5 books are work to one that is a real pleasure. A work to one that is a real pleasure. Right, okay, I get it. So you can make, 1 is a real pleasure, but 5 can be work, ratios. Crooked House was pure pleasure. I often wonder whether people who read a book can know if it had been hard work or a pleasure to write. Again and again, someone says to me, how you must have enjoyed writing so-and-so. This about a book that obstinately refused to come out the way you wished, that whose characters are sticky, the plot needlessly involved, and the dialogue stilted, or so you think yourself. But perhaps the author isn't the best judge of his or her own work. However, practically everybody is like Crooked House, and I'm justified in my own belief that this is one of my best. I don't know what put the Leonides family into my head, they just came. Then, like Topsy, they growed. I feel like I myself was their only scribe. So yeah, so this is about the Leonides family. They're one big happy family living in a sprawling ramshackle mansion. That is until the head of the household, Aristide, is murdered with a fatal barbiturate injection. Suspicion naturally falls on the old man's young widow, 50 years his junior, but the murderer is reckoned without the tenacity of Charles Hayward, fiancé of the late millionaire's granddaughter. Well, so the 2 books that I picked for the poll were standalone Agatha Christie books, because Agatha Christie has written a whole host of books that are in series, Poirot being the main one that you'll be familiar with, but also Tommy and Tuppence, that's a series, Miss Marple, and then there was some books that she wrote under the name Mary Westmacott. I've read The Rose on the YouTube, which was very good. So yeah, I thought it would be good to read a standalone, and this is one that we will be reading. And then the last book was Spell on Wheels, Just to Get to You by Kate Leith, Megan Levens and Marissa Louise. I read the first one of these earlier this year and wanted to get to the second one as quick as possible, and I've been keeping my eye out for it online secondhand and got a copy of it. I can't really tell you much about it because it's the sequel, but let you know that it's about 3 witches. The first one was about 3 witches on a road trip trying to get revenge on an ex-boyfriend, and this follows on from that. The artwork is amazing. The witches themselves are great fun. Very good fun. So there we go. Those are the books that have got my mitts on in the month of July. Let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know if any of these are taking your fancy. Let me know if you're planning on taking part in Agatha Christie. And I'll see you all again soon for another BookTube video. Goodbye.